This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Titans of industry like Amazon, when they have trouble, practically the entire internet is affected.
There are forces here pushing for a complete resumption of a full-scale war in Gaza.
Hit my brakes, it swerved the same direction, so that was pretty much it for my car.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. It is a mixed verdict on a huge case out of central New York. 3 corrections officers, 1 dead inmate. And today, one of the 3 officers was found guilty by a jury. The other 2 officers, not guilty. The Marcy prison trial is over.
Murder in the second degree. Guilty.
Bill Fitzpatrick is the lead prosecutor and Onondaga County District Attorney. He says he would have liked to have seen the other 2 officers found guilty, but says their legal team was excellent.
4 very good lawyers that represented these 2 gentlemen, and they worked hard, they worked fairly, and the jury spoke, and I have 0 criticism of the jury's verdict.
David Longaretta is the defense attorney for Nicholas Kiefer. He says the jury found that officer not guilty because he wasn't guilty.
He did enter in and out of that treatment room for seconds, merely seconds, but he did not touch Mr. Brooks at all. He never would have touched me. He wouldn't touch any inmate inappropriately. He's never done that.
Inmate Robert Brooks was beaten 3 separate times by correctional officers, resulting in death. The night of his arrival, December 9th, Officer David Kingsley today was found guilty of murder. Matthew Gallagher and Nicholas Kiefer were acquitted. Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick says although he is the prosecuting attorney, he has spoken with Governor Hochul and acknowledges things need to change in the prison system in New York for these men to do their jobs effectively.
The governor has had a number of conversations with me. There's some things here that are obvious that need to be changed, and she's indicated a willingness, at least to me, to address those.
Amazon is back up and running today after a global outage this morning. Tech consultant Ian Shore.
The good news is this doesn't seem to be a hacking-related incident, but it's still a reminder of how reliant so many of us are on Amazon, even though we may not be aware of it.
Amazon's web services went down today and the effects were felt worldwide.
Titans of industry like Amazon have become such key players that when they have trouble, practically the entire internet is affected.
Because of Amazon's issues, Zoom, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Alexa, Roblox, Venmo, and many more were all hit with tech problems. President Trump's envoys are in Israel at this hour after a violent weekend in Gaza threatened peace there.
They got very rambunctious and they did things that they shouldn't be doing. And if they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
2 Israeli soldiers were killed over the weekend. BBC correspondent Frank Gardner.
U.S. pressure is absolutely key to keeping this ceasefire deal on track. Without the U.S., it's really almost certainly going to fall apart. And my understanding, and I've spoken to various officials in the last 24 hours, that there has been a lot of behind-the-scenes U.S. pressure on the Israeli side to exercise restraint because there are forces here pushing for a complete resumption of a full-scale war in Gaza.
President Trump said today he could go to China early next year. The White House and Beijing are preparing to go to the negotiating table over tariffs. Meanwhile, Trump is meeting with Australia's Prime Minister today. It is their first formal meeting together in Washington. They'll be discussing U.S. protection of Australia in Asia Pacific. It is day 20 of the government shutdown, and it's now starting to impact SNAP benefits in many states. This woman in Virginia says she'll rely on food pantries run by churches this month.
It feels a little bit hard when you're like kind of proud and you don't want to do that kind of things.
Feeding Northeast Florida CEO Susan King says traffic is up for the 8 counties that her food bank serves.
That increase ranged anywhere from a reported 10% to as much as 100%.
Still no deal in Washington. And you may want to give your baby peanuts. New data showing updated guidelines for preventing peanut allergies appears to be working. CBS's Deborah Rodriguez.
A new study in the journal Pediatrics finds the number of allergic cases in kids has dropped sharply since experts began recommending parents introduce their infants to peanuts. That followed a landmark trial 10 years ago that found babies could cut their chances of developing an allergy by more than 80%. Since the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases shifted recommendations 2 years later, the just released research finds the rate of peanut allergies in children under 3 has plummeted 43%.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, there's some trouble brewing around Tish James's indictment in Virginia. A little more on the Marcy prison verdict, and gas prices could drop under $3 a gallon for the first time since the pandemic. Those stories after weather.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for the night. Tonight, a couple of stray evening showers, but it'll turn out partly cloudy to occasionally clear. It will certainly be cooler than recent nights. A little bit of a breeze. Low temperatures dipping toward 40. Tomorrow, some morning sunshine. Clouds return. Couple of showers in the afternoon. High temperatures around just over 60. It's cooler Wednesday, rather cloudy with a few showers. Breezy as well. The high temperature on Wednesday, mainly in the 50s.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories and making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. President Trump's administration has fired 2 prosecutors who opposed charges against New York Attorney General Tish James in Virginia. Kristen Bird and Elizabeth Usey were terminated on Friday. James is scheduled to be arraigned this coming Friday, but it's not clear who will be there to represent the U.S. Justice Department because of the firings. A little more on the Marcy Correctional Officer ruling today. Again, 3 officers were charged, just 1 found guilty in the beating death of an inmate. Prosecutors say they were disappointed that 2 of the officers will be going home. Lead prosecutor Bill Fitzpatrick was questioned by reporters after the verdict.
Was it successful on those 2 defendants?
I have 0 regrets about the prosecution's case. I had an incredible team. There wasn't a single thing I could have presented to that jury to make it more clear about the involvement of the 2 defendants. They disagreed, and that's life.
You're looking at 7 out of 10 guilty pleas. I mean, taking a step back, is that satisfying to you?
What I'm most gratified about is the intensity that my team put into the case.
Nicholas Kiefer was one of the COs that was found not guilty. His attorney says he was only in the room for seconds and didn't lay a hand on the inmate. Kiefer addressing reporters.
Do you feel judged at all by the public? Has your life been?
Yes, my life was turned upside down from this, 100%.
Members of the public have spoken to you in the store, in life?
Honestly, not really. I've just I don't know how to answer that, I'm going to be honest.
The case out of Onondaga County sparked national attention. Don't look now, but gas prices continue their downward trend. The price at the pump is a nickel less a gallon than it was last week, much to the delight of motorists. It's currently $3.13 a gallon in New York and $3.21 a gallon in Pennsylvania. Energy experts predict before too much longer, fuel could average less than $3 a gallon in New York. The last time that happened in the Empire State was before the pandemic in January of 2020. The New York State Education Department is pushing controversial new math guidelines. They include a recommendation that teachers stop giving timed quizzes because it stresses students out. 200 math experts from across New York are demanding a retraction of the guidelines, calling them critically flawed. They argue timed math testing gets students ready for real-world deadlines. Former New York Congressman George Santos is speaking for the first time since President Trump commuted his prison sentence last week. Santos was released on Friday after serving 3 months of a 7-year sentence for fraud.
I'm sorry. I genuinely am sorry. And to my colleagues who I forced their hands, quite literally, my own doing. I'm sorry I put you through that.
In December of 2023, Santos became just the 6th person in U.S. history to be expelled from Congress. Long Island Republican Nick LaLota.
He stole $3 million in campaign funds from many of my constituents, many of my supporters who got built by him and his lies. He stole an election.
Santos says he does not see himself returning to politics anytime soon. And skywatchers across the U.S. may be able to catch a glimpse of a rare green comet this week. NASA says Comet Lemon will make its closest approach to Earth on Tuesday, coming within 55 million miles from Earth. Depending on cloud cover, the best time to see it is shortly after sunset tomorrow. Next at 5, how is the late Pennsylvania budget impacting public schools? A sit-down with Dr. Ralph Kerr of the Teaching and Learning Institute. It's issues in education. Let's listen in.
We got to begin in Harrisburg. Over 100 days late, this Pennsylvania budget standoff continues. And from what I hear, it's really starting to impact schools. How are they coping in the midst of this late state budget?
Well, local school districts are doing the best they can. But let me tell you, when you're short $3.7 billion that you were expecting from the state and you haven't got it yet, it really hurts. And certainly this is not a good situation. It impacts cash flow. You end up having to use reserves. Some projects that you were going to do end up being delayed. It may end up eventually that some programs or staff are going to be cut because you just can't borrow enough money to cover this. It's really atrocious.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that the legislators there in Pennsylvania don't do their job in a timely manner.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of urgency either. Some are saying this could go on for weeks, if not months. So hopefully they'll reach a deal soon. I want to talk about high school sports, Ralph, in New York State. The Public High School Athletic Association will be meeting tomorrow to talk about private schools in postseason play. This would be sectional or state championship play. What are they going to be discussing this week there in New York?
Well, for a long time, this has been a really sore spot for me and for others as well, in that private schools, which can recruit and do recruit, then a public school is not able to recruit, plays through, their season and then comes into sectional play and they come up against a private school that has done all the recruiting and all of a sudden your season is over. And for years, many of us have said that's not fair and that it needs to be taken care of. And it does look like tomorrow the Athletic Association for High Schools is going to take the first step in bringing some common sense, really, which will make the playing field a lot more safe and also a lot more fair. And I'm all for it.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Issues in Education and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Is it possible to give too much? You might be surprised. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. In 2 Corinthians 8, Paul encourages believers to give generously, but also wisely. He writes, "Our desire is not that others might be relieved while you are hard-pressed, but that there might be equality." In other words, generosity should never jeopardize your ability to meet your own responsibilities. God calls us to spirit-led generosity, giving that's joyful, voluntary, and proportional to what we have, not what we don't. Giving is never meant to burden you with debt or neglect your family's needs. When we give as we're able with wisdom and integrity, God uses those gifts to care for His people and advance His kingdom. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, it is the thick of deer season in New York and Pennsylvania. Experts break it down for us after one last look at weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The storm system that brought the recent rain is moving away now. Clearing skies are ahead. Cooler air is ahead as well. That air mass will become unstable once again, and with the arrival of a couple disturbances, more showers are due for midweek. In the meantime, for the night, tonight, a couple of stray evening showers, but it'll turn out partly cloudy to occasionally clear. It will certainly be cooler than recent nights. A little bit of a breeze. Low temperatures dipping toward 40. Tomorrow, some morning sunshine, clouds return, couple of showers in the afternoon. High temperatures around just over 60. It's cooler Wednesday, rather cloudy with a few showers, breezy as well. The high temperature on Wednesday, mainly in the 50s.
It feels like fall. Finally, at 5, deer car collision season is here. Pennsylvania ranks 5th in the nation for the number of vehicle encounters with deer on highways. New York is a little better, coming in at 33. Donovan Williams of Rochester had a run-in with a deer over the weekend while vacationing in the Catskills.
It was in the middle on the yellow lines, and when I swerved to avoid it and hit my brakes, it swerved the same direction. So that was pretty much it for my car.
Walt McClure with the New York State DMV.
As we are expanding our footprint into areas that may have previously been a little more rural, we run the risk of running into animals for whom this has been their residence.
Experts say to avoid deer car collisions, slow down at night and keep an eye on the shoulders of the road while driving. Also, if a collision is unavoidable, don't swerve to try to miss the deer because that could cause even more harm. And that's the world that we live in for Monday, the 20th of October. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.